Podcasts on UNC-TV.org are made possible through the financial contributions of viewers like you, who invite you to join them in supporting UNC-TV.
Family and Consumer Sciences, formerly known as Home Economics, teaches a wide range of topics from healthy eating and food safety to housing and money management. This year, the program marks its 100th anniversary in our state. FCS Department Head Dr. Marshall Stewart recently stopped by our studios to discuss the program's history and mission with Mitchell Lewis.
Dr. Marshall Stewart, welcome back to North Carolina Now.
Thank you, Mitch. It's good to be with you today.
Dr. Stewart, the Family and Consumer Sciences, also known as FCS, it's been around for quite a while. It was known as one time as Home Economics and even the Tomato Canning Club. But despite these names, tell me a little bit about the mission of the organization.
Well, I think it's important for everyone to understand where it really started. Most of us that work at NC State like I do, or certainly have been around North Carolina at all, know the name of Jane McKimmon. McKimmon Center is certainly named after her, and it was from her work in those early 1900s, around 1911 actually, that she started this work that we today call FCS. She started it because she was working with tomato canning clubs with young girls, and that led into home demonstration clubs, which later led into home economics education, which later led into family and consumer science education. But regardless of whether it was in Jane McKimmon's day or today, it's been about the family and about working with families to help them in terms of their health and nutrition, help them in terms of their education, help them in terms of the economy, and trying to help them do a better job with their family finances and to manage that better. So again, it's a great history, and although the way we do it may have changed, the mission remains the same: to help families improve their lives economically, educationally, or in their health.
And as you mentioned, FCS is involved in several different projects, and one of those projects involves obesity. Talk about that project.
Well, one of the big issues facing North Carolina, obviously, is not only childhood obesity, but obesity and overweight as relates to all North Carolinians. It's a major issue in this country, and it is having extraordinary impact on the healthcare system. So it's a relevant issue to anyone, regardless of whether you deal with that issue or not. It affects us all. And so North Carolina Cooperative Extension, through Family and Consumer Science programs, is able to have programs of different kinds, educational programs like Eat Smart, Move More, which we collaborate with many folks across the state on, Give Your Heart a Healthy Beat, which one of our faculty members works with, the FNEP program, Expanded Food and Nutrition Program, or SNAP-Ed, our Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, many programs of different brand names that work in those families, work with children, work with older adults, trying to help them deal with this issue, because we know if on the education side, if we can help people manage better, manage their health better, it will have a positive impact on the economy. It helps with the healthcare system. It helps with all the different indicators we look at. And so we're all about a healthy North Carolina, which I think we all want in this state.
Now, you've been talking about FCS being involved in managing health, but you also have projects associated with managing finances.
We do. One of the areas that we talk about in terms of family consumer science is an area called family resource management. And about a year ago, we came out with a series of fact sheets called Take Control. And if you'll recall, a lot of people are losing their homes, losing their cars, a lot of people losing their jobs. And these fact sheets were put together online today where people can get them, or our agents use them in the field, in our counties, to help people understand, how can I manage my financial situation better? How can I save better? How can I make that dollar stretch a little further? Cook a nutritious meal, but do it on sort of the cheap side in terms of the economy. There's ways to do that, and I think it's important that we understand that the economic crisis in this country doesn't just affect one segment of society, but all people are suffering. All people have felt this in different ways, and that's one of the beauties of FCS. FCS impacts and works with all families, regardless of socioeconomic background, regardless of ethnicity, regardless of any indicator you can think of. We work with all families because all North Carolina families need to improve, and we think we can be a part of that through our educational programs.
And you're also involved in assisting the elderly as well.
We do. We've got some wonderful programs. Aging with Gusto, one of our specialists on campus, works with a program that really helps families understand how to deal with that aging parent. You know, some of us deal with that today. They call it sort of the sandwich generation. You've got children and you've got an aging parent as well. And how do you deal with that? What can you do to help that parent age with gusto, or age in a way that gives them quality of life. And a lot of folks are dealing with that. So we've got programs like that. We've got other programs like grandparents raising children, and a lot of families are faced with that. We have those kind of niche programs that our agents in the field and all of our cooperative extension offices can take from the campus, taking the research of the campus into the field, and then work with literally millions of citizens across this state in various ways. So regardless of the need, if it deals with family, Family and Consumer Science stands ready to help in those areas.
And of course, with North Carolina being a military state, you're also involved in providing assistance for those who are part of the military.
Yeah, one of the neat programs we have is a collaborative effort actually between our campus faculty and Family and Consumer Science at NC State, faculty at East Carolina University, and UNC Chapel Hill put together a program called Essential Life Skills for Military Families. And this program really works with those families that are facing pre-deployment. As families are getting ready to deploy, family members getting ready to go, family is left behind, and be it children or spouse, grandparents, whatever that situation may be, they face some ominous issues. And when you think about North Carolina and the amount of deployment we have in the state, one of the highest rates in the country, it's really a niche, again, that our agents work with families across North Carolina. You know, a lot of people think of the military as being just concentrated around bases, but when you think about the Reserve, think about the National Guard, it affects every county in this state. So regardless of where our agents may be, regardless of the county, there are military families who need that support and assistance, and we're glad to be a part of that help that can help those families.
Family and Consumer Sciences is facing a major milestone this year, the 100th anniversary. What things do you have on tap to celebrate the centennial?
Well, we're very excited because obviously when I think about my job every day, as we spoke earlier before we came on camera, I work with 4-H Youth Development and Family and Consumer Science, so I wear a dual hat. And that lineage goes all the way back to Jane McKimmon in her work with Family and Consumer Sciences. So we stand today at that point where later this year, in May 25th, we'll have a big celebration on campus, a big dinner, and lots of things going on there. But it's really a time not only to celebrate 100 years from McKimmon forward, but it's also a time to recognize what our great folks are doing today. You know, it's important to recognize that across North Carolina, we have great Family and Consumer Science agents who are out there working every day with literally millions of North Carolinians on a day-to-day basis. But this is also an opportunity to think about the future. Where do we go next? You know, when McKimmon sat there in 1911 and thought about Family and Consumer Science or home demonstration work, she probably had no idea that today we'd be working in many of the areas we are. But she understood that people needed help in the economy and education and needed help with issues regarding health. She understood that. And so today, although it may take a different form, we're doing that. So when we think about the centennial is an opportunity to bring recognition to this great program. We've got a new book coming out in May that's going to highlight the history and the present program in FCS. It's going to be released on May 25th. We're very excited about that. It'll include stories from every county of North Carolina. I think people are going to be really intrigued by that, to learn some of the great things our agents have done over the past. One of the things I'll tell you as a side note here, a lot of folks don't know this, but in many of our counties, our FCS agents, old home demonstration clubs, had a major role in putting the lines on the highways because they were paving the roads in the early part of 1900s, beginning to do that, but they didn't put lines on the roads. So many of our home demonstration clubs got involved in that. Now that sounds very simple. We take it for granted today. But you know, those are the kinds of really community development kinds of things that these folks have been involved in for 100 years. We're celebrating that and positioning ourselves for the future.
And of course, if people want to get involved with FCS, what can they do?
Well, the right thing to do is to contact your local cooperative extension office. Go to that office, find out who that FCS agent is, get in touch with them, and if you're interested in a program and perhaps they don't offer it or something that they don't do, maybe they can get you in contact with our faculty on campus who can help you and assist you. You know, the important thing for us all to recognize is that FCS is a classic example of extension, taking research-based information from the campus to the people of North Carolina. It was a promise made 100 years ago when we started this thing called Cooperative Extension, and we're continuing today. And one way we do that is through Family and Consumer Science.
Dr. Marshall Stewart, Department Head of Family and Consumer Sciences at North Carolina State University. Thank you so very much for stopping by. Congratulations on your centennial and continued success to you, sir.
Well, thank you, and thank you to UNC-TV. You've always been a great partner with us at NC State, and we continue that partnership and really value the great friendship and partnership and the collaboration we've had over the years.
Podcasts on UNCTV.org are made possible through the financial contributions of viewers like you, who invite you to join them in supporting UNC-TV.